Welcome back to Royals Weekly. I am your host, Marcus Mead, and joining me as always, in high school, he was voted most likely to die in a tilt-a-whirl accident. My brother, Mike.
Yeah, not surprising. I operated that tilt-a-whirl for several years. I was a county fair
This guy
hero.
loves a county fair.
Okay. I'm huge on the county fair circuit.
He's basically just cotton candy at this point.
Yeah, I'm a legend of tilt. I mean, I've done it all. Tilt-a-whirl, the big hammer thing.
Which is what they call it.
Balls into goldfish, like
tossing rings, ring toss,
killer
basketball hoop.
The trick is wear a shirt that's really high up. Okay, give the people what they want.
It's a crappie, yeah, for sure, yeah. If you're ever out to the county fair, make sure you keep your eyes peeled for Mike. He'll show you how to do the tilt-a-whirl proper. But until then, listen to this baseball episode. We're talking about Royals baseball in this week's Royals Weekly. We're going to start by reviewing a surprisingly average week from the Royals, which is, we'll talk about whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. And then we're going to focus our spotlight segment on the future of the bullpen. The bullpen has been absolutely tragic this year. And so maybe we'll give it a little bit of time, discuss how they have a long shot snowball's chance in hell of turning around this bullpen before next year. And then, of course, we'll preview this week's games as the Royals go on a road trip out to the West Coast. If you'd like more Royals Weekly content, go ahead and subscribe to the Royals Weekly Substack. That's royalsweekly.substack.com. For $5 a month, you get 2 extra ad-free episodes every single week. Mike recently changed up the format of the Mike's Dropped episode. I'm loving the Mike's Dropped episode lately. Make sure you're listening to those every Friday. Plus, he and I do another midweek episode together every week. I write an article every week for it that comes out on Sunday mornings before games. Today, I took a look at the offense, and one of the reasons it's might have some good secondary numbers, like extremely high hard hit rate, but it's not producing runs. Why is the disconnect there? I looked at that today in the article. So make sure you're checking that out, royalsweekly.substack.com. Lots of extra content, very inexpensive, very, I think, worth the money. So give that a shot. Also, make sure you're rating and reviewing us everywhere you can. Give us the thumbs up, give us the 5 stars, give us a little written review. We like to read them right here on the show. We got a new Apple podcast review from somebody whose name I can't pronounce, but I'm going to give it my best. It just says GW Koppen. That's Koppen, and then 1837382. This could be a bot, but if it's not a bot, thank you so much. Or if it is a bot, also thank you, bot, for that. We really appreciate it. It's a very short and sweet review. It just says nice is the title. Nice. Thank you. And it says, thanks for doing a show on my favorite team. They're my favorite team too, GW Koppen. Thank you for listening to Royals Weekly. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate you leaving the review. That's what everybody needs to do. If you're like, hey, I want to help these guys out, leave a review. Apple Podcasts, leave a comment under a YouTube video. We love that feedback. We love hearing from you. It's just a lot of fun for us. Let's start the review of last week with roster news. There was quite a bit of it, and some of it even made today, so we'll get to dig into some very recent roster news. I feel like the most important thing, though, and the one that everybody should talk about, the Royals reinstated Bobby Witt Jr. from the injured list. They then designated Andrew Vasquez for assignment, who I think has elected free agency since then. Mike, what are your thoughts on getting Bobby Witt Jr. back in the lineup, back in the field every day, and just getting a chance to see him play baseball?
Hey, that's what it's good to see, because there's not a lot of exciting happening on this team right now. They're not fighting for anything. Their talent level may be a little bit depleted. Million guys hurt on the pitching staff. So getting one of the most exciting players in Major League Baseball back is certainly reason to continue watching this team. We've seen him make a fantastic defensive play. We've seen him have a multi-hit game and kind of drive the offense a little bit, couple multi-hit games. So he looks really good. It's been exciting on the base pass as well. So he looks really good and is exciting, fun as a player as you're going to find in the game. So, if you need something to draw you to a team that has less than 50 wins right now, that's the kind of player to do it.
Yeah. And honestly, he's so central to the offense because really it's his on base ability. Like he gets a lot of singles. He walks a little bit, but he gets a lot of singles. He gets on first a lot. And with guys like Jack Caglione hitting behind him, he can then take advantage of some of the extra base power, some of the, home run power. And that's more runs scored for the Royals. Right. And then they desperately need that as an offense that, doesn't score runs all that consistently. He is so central to that effort. And, when you're watching it as a fan, even though now like they're out of contention, it kills you when they're only scoring 1 or 2 runs a game. And so you really want to see that offense flourish, him putting up a couple of singles or a double, some extra base hits, and then giving guys behind him a chance to drive him in. That's just central to what they're going to be able to do. And they have to see how that's going to work for the rest of the season. Is it going to work with Bobby in the 2 and Jack in the 3 as they've been doing it lately? Will it be Bobby and, somebody else, or, who's going to come after Jack and things like that? They got to see what this lineup needs to look like in 2027. Maikel Garcia, I think, maybe goes out on a rehab Wednesday if he still feels good. He took some infield today, and so he'll be folded into that mix as well. It looks like they're liking Carter Jensen in the leadoff most of the time. If he's there, it's time to start experimenting and seeing how you're going to make this offense go in 2027.
We really saw that in game 2 of this Cubs series as well. The game that they won, the game you're going to talk about, I'm sure, with Jack Caglione. Bobby was able to get on in front of him a couple of times and score. Once on a double, I think one of the home runs he was on base, maybe, I can't remember exactly, but he was definitely, or no, it was both doubles. He was on first both times he had a double. One time Bobby scored and one time he didn't. And so, just being able to get on there in front of Jack if Jack can get right and be consistent with that, we're talking about big time run production. That's what we've kind of always dreamed for Bobby, is somebody behind him who can produce consistently with some power outcomes.
Yeah, somebody who could not produce consistently and as a result will no longer be with the Royals. See that transition?
Love that transition.
That was golden, right? That was golden. That'll be Matt Strahm. He was designated for assignment almost immediately.
He wasn't producing consistently?
No.
He was producing home runs for the other team consistently.
Well, the other team, yeah. He was
producing power outcomes.
Right. They should be buying him a bottle of bubbly or something. But he was designated for assignment and as a result will not be with the Royals anymore. Was released. I don't think anybody picked him up off waivers or anything. Mike, quickly, do you have any thoughts on Matt Strahm no longer being a part of the Royals bullpen?
Yeah, here's my thought. It's that wonderful Gene Wilder meme from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Stop, please, don't. like, okay. Or the Seinfeld one. That's a shame. Those are my two, my meme inspired reactions to Matt Strahm no longer being on the team.
Yeah, before the trade deadline, I was like, if he should not be a Royal on August 4th, no matter what. And we knew that he wasn't going to get traded because he has no value, so nobody would want him. And so but then some people were doubting that he would get, because he's making money, significant money, that they would just keep him around to throw innings. And I'm like, don't do that to your fan base. You've already screwed them this year. Do not keep Matt Strahm on the roster just to, get innings out of somebody and just to justify the money you're spending. And luckily JJ sort of didn't do that and went ahead, pulled the trigger and just got him off the roster, which is great because I don't know that Matt Strahm has anything left in the tank, frankly. Mike, in order to replace him and to, start testing out and seeing what's going on in the bullpen, the Royals have recalled Mason Black, who was down in AAA. He was working as a starter a lot in AAA, or a little bit anyway, which I found interesting. And they claimed a little-known reliever named Luke Little. Mike, what do you think of the bullpen tryout so far? They're right in the middle of it. We've seen Nate Pearson. We've seen, Steven Cruz get closing time. We've seen, what's that guy's name? Easton McGee. I was going to struggle with it. Thank you. We've seen him. What are your thoughts on how that bullpen tryout's going so far?
I put him in 2 categories. I'm intrigued by Nate Pearson. I think he's been pretty good. Shown really good strikeout ability.
I think Cruz has also been good, to be clear.
Yeah, and has been able to limit the walks at least a little bit. And then the other category I picked out was one a puke, and that's everyone else.
Okay.
The Quasses, the Easton McGee's, if you want to throw Eli Morgan, who we've seen in there, everybody else we've seen. Nah, I haven't seen anything I like out of them. But if you get Nate Pearson out of it, hey, that's something. You get one guy, that's something.
That is something. I'm also slightly intrigued by Mason Black, and we'll talk more about this when we get to our bullpen discussion segment, but I'm a little bit intrigued by that. I'm also intrigued by the fact that they were having him start down in AAA because I think he could adopt a role. They left him out there as chum, as a lamb to slaughter the other day, but he threw a couple of clean innings. And then when he started getting to the 3rd or 4th, the second time through the order type stuff, guys started to get a hold of him. But I'm interested a little bit by that because I think his stuff is there. But other than that, Pearson, obviously interesting. Steven Cruz is showing a little. We can talk about the next thing. The Royals have also reportedly signed, and this has been confirmed by Ann Rogers, they have signed 38-year-old right-handed reliever Craig Kimbrell, can't even say his name, Craig Kimbrell, who at one time was the best closer in baseball, but for a few years he was a dominant closer. Has not been that in a while, I think. Mike, what are your thoughts on the Royals deciding to sign yet another late 30s reliever?
I mean, why not? Somebody's got to throw, right? Might as well go with a guy who was good once many, many years ago. Like, I have no problem with it. You're signing everybody else off the street. Now, the only thing I don't love about it is he's not really a tryout player like some of these other guys are. He's it's not likely that you're going to sign Craig Kimbrell next year as a 39-year-old to pitch in your bullpen if you're really looking for people to build on. But yeah, to finish out the year, sure, why not?
Yeah, that's what I think. It better just be to finish out the year, because I don't know that. I mean, what are you going to do next year? Like, you're going to re-sign? Like, I don't know what that even mean. Like, why bring in another guy who looks just like, profile-wise, Matt Strahm, Will Smith, all these other guys you brought in their late 30s who just didn't have anything left in the tank? That's basically what Craig Kimbrell is. I'm not interested in anything like that. I'm interested in young fireballers who maybe they're not great, but try out 24 of them. You maybe find 3 or 4 that'll work, On the field last week, the Royals managed to break even, going 3-3, which brings their overall record to 49-70. After taking the first 2 games of the Twin Series and thus winning that series, they disappointingly dropped the series finale. Then they managed to win a game against the Cubs, one out of that Cubs series, game 2 we mentioned earlier. Mike, what did you see from the fellas on the field last week? How did it intrigue you in any way? What are you taking away from the gameplay last week?
Some exciting stuff, especially from that second game. Well, actually, I thought they played really well in that Twin series. Had a really good chance to sweep that Twin series.
Bullpen
they blow a save. Yep, they blow a save late in the game, and then when you're watching the Cubs series, like, they were definitely overmatched in that Cubs series, but the win that they got in game 2 is the hope. That's the hope for the future. That's exactly it. You get a solid start from Lugo. You get Jack Caglione being the masher in the middle of the lineup and Bobby kind of being the engine in front of him. And that's the key. That's what you want future victories to look like. It's just, we're not getting that consistently. And so, yeah, I was fine with this week. If you said, hey, this week they're going to win the Twin series and they're going to win a game in the Cubs series, sure. That for a team that's this bad, we'll take it.
We will take it. And what's interesting is I think at least this last game of the Cubs series, and maybe many other games really in this week and in this whole season, make things look a lot worse than they actually are in some ways, because what ends up happening with the Royals, like, take the last game of the Cubs series here. They get what I consider not a great, but a fairly solid outing from Dobnak. He was a little bit let down by his defense at times. He got dink and dunked really bad.
Yeah, that was the thing.
The bat gods killed him today, which is going to happen when you don't miss very many bats.
10 hits in 5 innings.
Right. It's going to happen when you don't give up, when you don't miss many bats. And then the Cubs are a very good team, especially offensively. But what do you give up? 4 runs or something like that? You can live with that. You can find a way beyond that if your offense will score enough. But then what happens? Well, if you're down by any amount of runs, the Royals go to the worst relievers in their bullpen. The worst relievers in the worst bullpen in Major League Baseball. What's going to happen when they do that? It's going to become
Easton
10-2.
McGee's going to give up 5.
Exactly. So they're giving up a lot of losses that look really, really bad, and their run differential is going to look really, really bad because they're using awful relievers in these situations where maybe they started out only down a couple runs. Those relievers are going to guarantee that they go down 8 runs, right? And so it's like, well, yeah, they look terrible because they've essentially conceded the game in the 4th or 5th inning, passing it on to a reliever who's bound to give up 3 or 4 runs, right? And so it's like, that makes it look a little bit worse than it is sometimes. And you couple that with like the blown games like we had in the 3rd game of the Twin series, they're leaking wins, but they're also just leaking run differential, and they're leaking the perception that they could ever do anything. It all sort of stems back to this thing we're going to talk about in the Spotlight segment, an absolutely terrible bullpen that doesn't just lose close games for you. When you're behind, it makes it so that those games aren't close anymore. It's really you got to have a solid bullpen, and that's been the thing that's really been the dagger in their side. But some people did manage to have good weeks this last week, and I think we've chosen the 2 that really need to be talked about. Mike, who'd you go with for your strong performer last week?
Well, I chose him this week because we kind of overlooked him last week, and we probably should have talked about him last week. But Noah Cameron is my strong performer, friend of the show. Okay, St. Joe's finest. Okay, We've talked about, and I did my feature segment in the Mike's Dropped episode for the Substack subscribers was on Noah Cameron, and just the kind of difference between what he has been, what he was before he started calling his own pitches and what he's been since. And this week, 8 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run, which was a little fluky to begin with on a somewhat bad play by Michael Massey, a walk, and 9 strikeouts. And if you go look at his strikeout rate since he started calling his own pitches, it's over 30%. It's extremely high for now. I don't expect it to stay there, but as a guy who didn't strike out a lot of guys and gave up a lot of fly balls, now he's got a ground ball rate over 52 in his last 3 starts, or like over 50. I think it's over 52, and a strikeout rate over 30. Like
that ground ball rate is the thing that maybe intrigues me the most, right? Because we talked about him being really home run prone. That ground ball rate is something that is really going to keep the ball in the yard and things like that.
It's under 40 in the 19 starts before he started calling his own pitches. It's
very intriguing, as well as the strikeout rate bump. That's huge. But Cameron being able to elicit ground balls instead of getting balls in the air, that's a huge development for him. And it's wild that it just came as a result of him calling his own pitches. Like, that's the only thing.
Yeah. And if you look at it, there's a slight difference in usage and how he's using pitches. He's throwing less fastballs, throwing more sliders, throwing more cutters. But a lot of it is just like, hey, I'm locating the pitch sequencing is what I like. And I feel when I looked at the numbers and the stats, I got this feeling of a lot of this just boils down to Noah Cameron feels more comfortable now that Noah Cameron's calling pitches, and if that's the case,
that's a big part of it. Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. I think a big part of it is he feels convicted when he's up there throwing the pitches that he has called. And as a result, they're located better. And as a result, maybe they're a little firmer at times. And as a result, it's just all the things that come with being more convicted as a pitcher end up happening and helping him. And you see an ease out there on the mound when he's in a groove, man. It looks like really easy and really dominant. And it's a great thing to see because they need it so desperately in that rotation moving forward, because we know how decimated they are by injury. I went with another young player who is giving the team hope offensively. That's Jack Caglione. How do you not pick him out as the strong performer last week? He went 11 for 23, 3 doubles, 2 home runs, 7 RBI, 0 walk, 2 strikeouts. Really epitomized by that game 2 performance, which was entirely Jack Caglione. He had 2 doubles and 2 home runs in that game alone. Hit 4 balls all over 104.9 miles per hour. 4 barrels, I'm guessing. I didn't check launch angles or anything like that, but I'm guessing those are all 4 barrels, and just absolutely dominated. Now, the thing that concerns me a bit, I'll throw this out there, 0 walks in the week, right? And we know that, like, he can get hot swinging at too many pitches. What happens when that happens? Is he able to pull the reins back in and make sure he's being patient enough to take the walks when pitchers are kind of trying to avoid him because he's so hot, right? I think he needs to make sure he's in that mindset too when the time is right. But right now he's the ball's it's coming out of the pitcher's hand like a beach ball to him. So hopefully he can continue to take advantage, and hopefully this becomes a consistent sort of thing for him. He made it to 20 home runs, and a bunch of stats came out like he's the first Royals outfielder to hit over 20 home runs in a long, long time or whatever. And that's true. They need his production in that lineup on the power end, because we know that they're just not going to get that much of it anywhere else. And so he needs to be that big bat in the middle of their lineup who's going to get 3-run home runs because, I think the days of Salvador Perez hitting 48 are gone. Bobby Witt Jr. is not really a 30 home run guy the way he plays. And then who else are you looking for big home run production? Because they don't really have that. Plenty of guys didn't stand out as strong performers. In fact, did the exact opposite and stood out as not strong performers, what we call weak performers. Mike, who was your weak performer for last week?
Yeah, just us call it that. We thought of that.
We thought of that.
My weak performer, this one hurts a little bit because, as you know, he's got the stamp of the my guy stamp here. Big Isaac Collins guy, but he is disappointing recently. He just went 3 for 17 this week with 1 run, 1 double, 1 RBI, 2 walks to 1 strikeout. Isaac Collins has played a ton. He's been in there, like he's been the only one not hurt or traded on this Royals team. And so he's been in there a ton, and it just wonders if he's wearing down. I was hoping he would ascend a little bit more in the second half and show, like, I shouldn't say that. Isaac Collins, the way he is right now, is a somewhat valuable asset, but I feel like there's a little bit more in there, a little bit more consistency that just irks me, that sometimes you watch him and you go, like for a guy who has the label of good approach, and he's got a pretty good approach, he does swing at some stuff sometimes that confuses me, as far as like, especially fastballs up that confuse me, but I don't know. Yeah, Isaac Collins need a little bit better than 3 for 17 for an entire week. Hopefully he can turn that around and rein it in a bit.
I think he's a guy that you're perfectly happy hitting 8th in your lineup, but because he's going to be a league average bat, that's what he is really, and good approach, on base kind of stuff. But you don't want to have to rely on him for a ton of production, and 3 for 17, you got to do a little bit better than that, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, but the thing is, you don't want to rely on him for a ton of production, but you feel like you kind of got to play him every day.
Right now they kind of got to play him every day.
Yeah,
because who else are they going to play? Like, it doesn't make any sense. I'm talking about another guy who fits a similar mold in my mind, and that's Nick Lofton. He went 2 for 17 last week, 1 double, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. He's been getting a ton more playing time than anybody expected because of injuries like Isaac Collins. He is similar to Collins in that he doesn't have a ton of raw power, relies on a great approach, hitting a lot of line drives. It just didn't work out for him this week in terms of, and you do wonder, is this a little bit, exposure, exhaustion, and that sort of thing? Does he work better as a rotational player, not playing so much? Maybe he does, but I think he's already shown that he has tremendous value to the Royals. Or any team for that matter, with the fact that he can play multiple positions, be a league average bat, get on base quite a bit, do some little things, laid down a sacrifice bunt yesterday, I think. And so that's the sort of thing that you really prize for him, but he did not have a great day or a great week at the plate last week. Mike, with all this in mind, themes were not tough to come up with, I think. What'd you go with here for your theme?
I went with a great philosopher of the early 2000s. Some of this movie came out in 1990s. It's hard to tell when that movie came out. It's got to be the 90s. It's got to be the 90s, because this was actually Matthew McConaughey's very first role in a movie.
Yes, it was.
As he starred as Wooderson, and I'm not even sure what Wooderson's first name is.
I don't know. I don't even know if he has one. He's a one-namer like Seal or Madonna.
Wooderson from the Richard Linklater classic Dazed and Confused. And he's got so many great one-liners in that movie. But one of them is, and this is the way I feel like the Royals are feeling now, is you just got to keep living, man. Livin.
That's a weak McConaughey. You can do better.
You want me to do a McConaughey?
Do a McConaughey. Why not?
You just got to keep living, man. Livin.
That's pretty good. That was all right. Yeah, I'll take that one. Wonderful cast in that film, obviously, and McConaughey is among them. So yeah, great theme. I went with one. So I was trying to think to myself, like, what is the theme of right now? Well, for me, it's all about like testing different things out, experimenting as a team with lineups, with bullpen roles, and all this sort of thing to find the thing that might actually work. And so I started thinking like experimentation and invention, that sort of thing, and that pushed me towards a film that Mike and I both absolutely love, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, starring Gene Wilder. And he has a line in there where he says, "Invention, my dear friends, is 93% perspiration, 6% electricity, 4% evaporation, and 2% butterscotch ripple." And so if the Royals need help finding what they're going to do, they just need to follow that formula, and boom, they'll find a bullpen that actually works.
And Daniel Lynch is the starter again.
Royals Weekly is brought to you by All in Physical Therapy, who don't just offer the best in physical therapy in the KC Metro. They also offer the best in summer speed and conditioning programs for youth athletes who want to make big gains.
Who wouldn't want to turn themselves into the Terminator? And I'm talking about the liquid one from T2.
That one's way more badass and way more deadly in my mind. If your child is interested in getting the most out of their athleticism, check out videos of All In's summer speed and conditioning programs on their Instagram feed. And of course, All In always offers the best in physical therapy for post-surgery or athletic injury patients. They offer a personalized one-on-one experience to meet your specific therapy goals.
If your goals are chasing down Sarah Connor and her teenage son, you're in luck.
You are in luck, yeah. Learn more about how All In Physical Therapy can get your body on track at allin-pt.com. That's ALLIN-pt.com. Or give these very nice people a call at 816-427-5300. That's 816-427-5300. All In Physical Therapy, your recovery goals are their number one priority. The Royals bullpen has the second worst ERA in baseball, and that's not some weird aberration or anything like that. They also have the second worst expected ERA and the very worst FIP, that's field and independent pitching. They have been an atrocious collection of pitchers in 2026, and I really don't think we can fully appreciate how much that's impacted the team. Oddly, one of the biggest questions for the rest of 2026 is how will the Royals turn what might be the worst bullpen in baseball into one that can be at least serviceable in 2027? They're talking about competing in 2027. They're not going to do it with this bullpen. They're not going to do it with a league worst bullpen. So we really got to talk about how they're going to turn this thing around. Because it's highly unlikely the Royals could compete without an at least above average bullpen, how does a team create that in one offseason from essentially nothing? That's what we're going to talk about in the Spotlight segment. Mike, let's start by diagnosing the problem. Why is this pen in such bad shape?
Ooh, I think I can handle this one. And I think just about anybody who watched the team on a regular basis can, because guys that they were desperately counting on just imploded, like gave you not only nothing,
all at the same
less
time.
than nothing. Yep. And I'm talking Carlos Estevez early before the season even started. Lucas Ursig, when you asked him to kind of step up and fill that role that Estevez was supposed to be filling, just worse than he was last year, when last year was a step down. And then the guy you signed in free agency, Matt Strom. Now, those were the guys you were expecting.
He was a trade reminder.
Sorry, trade, yes.
They traded Jonathan Bolin, who was much better than Strom.
Exactly. I forgot, yes. And Bolin's one of my guys. I like Bolin. So you got these three guys. They were supposed to be the cornerstone of your bullpen. All of them awful. Just not even bad, just like as bad as you can be.
Matt Strom literally has the worst WAR in Major League Baseball. The lowest WAR, minus 1 point something, is Matt Strom.
Way to go, Matt Strom. You can always put that on the old Hall of Fame ballot right there. But that's bad. That's where it starts, right? You were counting on these three to be the cornerstone of your bullpen. All of them were terrible. That doesn't even include the guys you were hoping to get like bounce back / some contribution from. Nick Mears, really bad and got hurt early. Alex Lang, just really bad. Who's the other one I'm thinking of? I felt like there was one other guy that we were kind of like, oh yeah, he might help out a little bit, and got nothing. Schreiber was okay, or has been okay, but not enough. Daniel Lynch is the only guy who looks like he's taken a real step forward. You were hoping maybe Luinder Avila would be in there to help out. Of course, you have to transition him into the starting role. It's just been a huge disaster, but it all starts with those three guys.
Yeah, and I would sort of couch all of that under the categories of poor investment and a bare cupboard, right? Now, what's the poor investment? The poor investment was sinking so much money into Carlos Estevez, and then he ends up imploding, right? They didn't sink a ton of money into Ursig. They sunk a little trade capital to get him from the A's. They sunk a little trade capital into Strom, but all of those are poor investments because they all just imploded at the same time. Now, also the poor investment was just not really investing in the bullpen at all monetarily beyond Estevez. They didn't go out and sign any other young, decent reliever. In fact, I would argue that one of the bad strategies that the Jay Piccolo front office has had is attempting to go out and sign relievers who are like older and looking like that maybe they've, had a down year. And so they're like, well, we're going to buy them on the cheap because they've had down years and let them bounce back. The problem is they're older. Their down years aren't just down years. They're the start of a collapse, right? Will Smith was the start of a collapse. They bought Chris Stratton high. He started to collapse, right? But Strom was the start of a collapse, right? Like a lot of these you're getting in on guys when they're not just having one off year, like relievers sometimes do, when they're literally on their decline and on the way out. Okay. That's what they've been doing. That's poor. And then you add in the fact that they had nothing on deck in the organization, really. Steven Cruz, I think it can be counted as one of the ones who was on deck and has helped out. But for the most part, the cupboard is bare when it comes to relief pitching prospects. And so they don't have anything that's really helping out internally either. You combine those two things and you have a team signing a ton of dudes just off the streets to come pitch. Mike, we've had this conversation a little bit, but I'd like to start systematically going through this. Who among the group that we have now do you have hopes could be a useful reliever for the team in 2027? Because frankly, I've never heard of a team, and I don't think a team can turn over 8 spots in the bullpen in one offseason. So they got to save some of these guys for next year. Who's that going to be?
Yeah, the problem is it's just not. It looks bad on multiple fronts. One, let's say you had some sort of hope and prayer that Carlos Estevez could be back. He's done. His contract's up. John
Well,
Schreiber's
he has
contract's up.
technically as a club option, but they're never taking that.
You can't pick it up. You can't pick that up. And so he's done. Schreiber done. You know, and then Lang, I think, was he on a one? I think he was just on a 1 year deal. Done.
Who cares?
I don't want him back, right? So let's boil it down to that subsection of guys that you think could be effective and that will be here, right? It's Cruz and it's Lynch. That's it. Now, I do have some hope for Pearson, Nate Pearson. I don't know what the contract situation is. I think it's just a year for him too, but you think he might, you might offer him a contract coming back. Maybe there's still some club control left. I'm not sure, but that's really it. Those are the only guys I really have any sort of hope that they could turn into useful arms. And the real problem is none of those guys are what you would consider back end guys. Like none of those guys I would consider 8th or 9th inning guys yet. Does Cruz have the stuff to be an 8th inning guy someday? Maybe, but I don't know that he's there yet, whether it's mentality or whether it's ability to command the baseball that's going to hold him back there. But I don't see that. And so you're looking at maybe 4 or 5 guys that you're going to have to spots that you're going to have to fill theoretically in my eyes.
Yeah. Pearson, for clarity, will be in his last year of arbitration next year. So they'll still have him next year. And after that, he'll be a free agent. I agree with you on Cruz and Lynch and Pearson. I also think Beck Way showed quite a bit while he was up. He did show quite a bit. Don't shake your head. You don't know.
His expected numbers are way worse. I don't love what I've seen from Beck Way, but
he showed.
I see why you like him.
Stuff to compete in a major league bullpen, and I think he has a chance, at least a hope of sticking at the major league level next year. That's 4 guys, and then maybe Mason Black in a specific kind of role. I would think he would have to be like last guy in your bullpen, can eat multiple innings and take like 3 or 4 innings for you if you need him to, that kind of thing. I don't think he's going to be lights out, set up man or anything like that. But in that kind of a role, maybe he makes a little bit of sense. But I would say no more than 4 really that you can sort of solidly count on. Well, even that, you really can't solidly count on all of them. Mike, are there any players below the MLB level who you think might deserve a shot in 2027? Could we have more internal answers?
Well, yeah, and my hope is that these shots come in 2026. But we just got Carlos Duran from the Dodgers. I think he deserves a look in Major League Baseball. Get him up here. Get him 15 innings if you can. By the end, 15, 20 innings by the end of the year would be great. And then Connor Thomas is another guy. I literally know nothing about Connor Thomas. We got him somehow. I don't know. I don't even know how we got him, but he's got some success in minor league baseball. So if you got some success in minor league baseball, you get a tryout in the bullpen in my eyes. So bring him up, look at him, see what you got. There's some other guys the Royals have gotten from, I think, what's the guy that they got from Philly? Hoffman? Is that
Ethan Hoffman, I think is his name.
I can't remember his name, but I'm not super intrigued by him in any way. But those 2 I would give a shot to. Now, one thing I want everybody to keep in mind too. Don't forget about Alec Marsh and James MacArthur. I know they've been hurt for 2 years. I know the likelihood of coming back from those kinds of injuries and actually participating, but both of those guys have shown in different ways and in different stints the ability to be effective in Major League Baseball. And when your bullpen is this bad and you still have control of those guys, you have to try it. And so those are 2 guys that don't be like shocked if, at some point they're pitching in the Major League bullpen in 2027.
Yeah, when your bullpen's this bad, it's everybody gets a chance turn, like, because you have no other options. Like, you have no choice. Maybe you get super lucky and Alec Marsh's, tendons fuse tight and he now throws 105. I don't know. That's just the plot of Rookie of the Year, but we'll see if that ends up being the case, because if that, whatever, we need to got to give it a shot, get little Henry Rowan-Gardner out there. Yeah, I like Duran. I like Luke Little as another one of the guys that they sort of picked up off the heap to see, if he could potentially. And now Little is a guy who's interesting to me because he's an enormous fella, like in the Steven Cruz mold, but I think he's left-handed. I think big strikeout numbers for Little. I'm going to now like mistake him for somebody else because that happens all the time. But a guy who has trouble locating the ball, a lot of the, big strikeout numbers in the past. Last year, well, let's see. He's had big walk numbers and things like that. So if they can teach him to, get the ball in the strike zone a little bit more, still only 25 years old. He's got some MLB time, a full year of service time with the Cubs, I believe. If they can find a way to get him to locate the ball a little bit better, like they have with Pearson, like they did with Steven Cruz, maybe you have another guy who's, a serviceable reliever for you. And if Carlos Duran also works out, we saw that they traded Chris Bubich for him at the deadline, another guy who got big strikeout numbers, trouble locating the ball at times. Get some of those guys into this bullpen, get more strikeout, and hopefully limit some of those walks. Mike, now what people really want to know is how we're going to add guys to help make this bullpen better. Obviously, you don't want to sink too much money into your bullpen. What should they do after they found a few guys to carry over? How should they add to this bullpen in order to bring in some talent?
Well, I would expect that they probably need 4 guys coming in, and that's tough. That's really hard to do. Now, the way that you kind of feel, there's other things to consider. Is Bergert going to be in the starting rotation, or is he going to have a chance to be in the bullpen? What about Caderna? What about some of those other guys? So, they always sign a couple minor league signings in spring training. One of those guys often makes the bullpen. But I think if you're going
draft,
out and
they got to be targeting a bullpen guy in the Rule 5 draft. That has to happen.
I would think that would be something they could do. Although, boy, competing teams rarely do that. But yeah,
the Dodgers do it every single year. Every year,
I mean,
they rarely
keep the guy in the major leagues,
right?
For the whole
but this
year.
is the worst bullpen in Major League Baseball. We're talking about here. You gotta look for talent everywhere.
I don't know. So I don't know who the 4 guys they bring in are. But if you're looking like, what does it need to be? It needs to be dominant back end guys. You need a dominant back end guy to be there, and so that's really hard to do. The guy I went with was David Bednar. He's set to be a free agent for the Yankees. The chances of them getting him are next to 0.
They're 0.
The chances of the Yankees letting him walk without providing lots and lots of money are next to 0. But, who knows? The Yankees have a very good bullpen. Maybe they want to pass that on to somebody else. I don't know. But if David Bednar's out there on the market, you need to seriously look into getting him. Another guy that could be available, a guy named Alex Vesia from the Dodgers. Not quite as dominant as Bednar, but looks like he could be a guy that could be a back end guy. Maybe not your closer, but an 8th or 9th inning guy from the left side. Looks like he can provide some value and can get a strike. He's got really good strikeout numbers, though his stuff, it's kind of more of like he has really good breaking stuff. The fastball gets decent numbers, even though the velocity is pretty low on it. But the breaking stuff is legit from him. So that's a guy I would also look into adding, even if he isn't the dominant back end guy that you're looking for.
Yeah, I think they got to be aggressive, obviously, in whatever way they can to acquire bullpen talent. I think one of that could be trades, right? You could be looking to trade guys like Kyle Isbell, like Vinny Pasquantino, like Michael Massey, something like that, and getting pitching in, including relief pitching. I think Rule 5 draft, they have to take somebody. That's not even a question. You have to take somebody, right? Like you must take someone who can get swing and miss out of the bullpen and then see if your guys can get them to throw strikes, right? That's basically all you're doing in the Rule 5 draft. And then you got to try free agency. I would say at least 2 free agents in the bullpen, maybe 3 if one of them's like a minor league deal or a real low money deal. I'm looking at Brian Abreu as a potential in the bullpen. He's had some really good years. He had a down year this year, but he's not old. He's like 29 years old. And so you go out and the down year was really locating. And so see if you can get him to continue to get swing and miss, but maybe bring the walks down a little bit. Get Brian Abreu, let him be a dominant guy at the back end of your bullpen. I would try and see if they could re-sign John Schreiber to a relatively cheap deal because 1, he may not have a huge market because he had somewhat of a down year this year. 2, real familiar with Kansas City, doesn't have to move and stuff like that. That's got to be a selling point for someone like him. And then 3, he could be a relatively solid middle reliever for them. Cheap, solid middle reliever. The third one is a guy named Caleb Ferguson. He's a lefty, another guy who could just be like a solid middle reliever for you and would be pretty cheap, right? Because no one's going out and paying him probably even $5 million a year to be a reliever. You could probably pick him up for $2 to $4 million a year and be happy with a serviceable lefty out of your bullpen who can give you some strikeout, but mostly just keep the damage limited.
Question. How do you feel about guys who normally you wouldn't be able to sign, but they're coming off injury, so you might have a chance, and they're somewhat injury prone?
No.
Okay.
No, we're dealing with that right now. Like, I mean, I get it that like relievers are inherently volatile and inherently injury prone, but you got to do your best to avoid those guys because you're trying to thread the thinnest needle possible here. And if you insert the injury risk into it, you're never making it out, right? Because that guy will get hurt. We've seen the way the Royals use their pitchers. It's pretty taxing. That guy will get hurt, right? And so do your best to limit your exposure to injury risk. Obviously, they're relievers, so they're all going to have some, but do your best to avoid it and try and get yourself a decent back end guy. Because you're right. They do need somebody who actually works as a stopper in the ninth inning or a big time setup man and a ninth inning guy, because you don't want to have to, the games where you're leading by 1 or 2, those have to be locked down, but also that pushes down relievers like Steven Cruz and Nate Pearson and Daniel Lynch so that you can use them in games where maybe you're just down 1 run or 2 runs and you can stay in that game and come back and win some of those, right? That's what an actual good bullpen does for you. It doesn't just protect leads. It also keeps you in games where you're down by a run or 2 so that you can score late and maybe overtake the lead. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's baseball. That makes sense.
Royals Weekly is brought to you by Eric Oxer of West USA Realty. Word spreading about the hottest realtor in the Phoenix area. This kid's got the know-how. He's got the drive. He's got the thoughtful care to help you secure your dream retirement home. And let's face it, Phoenix is a dream. Sun, golf, baseball.
And all the refried beans you can stuff in a tube sock.
Eric Oxer ranked in the top 3% of agents in all of Arizona so far this year. Why? Because for Eric, it's not about him. It's about you. He's going to spend day and night grinding to find you the house of your dreams and get you the best price for it.
Don't take chances and end up in some neighborhood full of degens and weirdos like me.
Mike has so many inflatable things on his lawn, you can't even see the grass. Find Eric Oxer of West USA Realty online at ericoxer.com. That's ERICKAUXIER.com. Or just give him a call or shoot him a text at 480-383-9745. That's 480-383-9745. Be wise. If you're ready to make the move, let Eric make the experience all about you. The Royals head for the left coast this week with 3 games against the Dodgers Monday through Wednesday, an off day on Thursday, and then a 3-gamer against the Angels of the greater Los Angeles area on the weekend. Mike, the Dodgers have been struggling a bit lately. Tell us about a team everyone now hates.
Well, everyone should hate them. Let's start there. Okay.
Start
hate
there.
is warranted. All right. The Dodgers, though, still win a lot of baseball games because, although what's their cost per win? That's what I want to know.
Oh my God.
You know what?
No, astronomical.
The regular season champion should be determined by cost per win.
They would never win. Like, they don't even usually end with the most wins in the regular season.
So they are 70-48, which is good enough for first in the NL West. In game 1, got a classic matchup here, a real AL Central matchup here. It's going to be Noah Cameron versus Tarek Skubal, the 29-year-old lefty out of Seattle University, newly acquired by the cheating asshole Dodgers. Okay. 2.81 ERA for Skubal and a .92 whip. That's pretty good. He's a good pitcher. 4-seam fastball at 96, 97. He's got a changeup, a sinker, a slider, a curveball. He's a lead at everything. The Royals have experience going up against him, but that doesn't mean that they're going to do well because he's really good. Game 2, we'll see Michael Wacha against another tough lefty in Blake Snell, a 33-year-old lefty out of Shorewood High School in Washington. He's only got 1 start this year, and it didn't go so great. He got a 12 ERA and a 2.67 whip, but just in that 1 start.
He also got hurt in that start. So,
and he's pitching again. Oh, that was early in the year.
Yeah, he's only thrown one game this year, got hurt, and this will be his first game back.
Oh, wow. Awesome for him. That'll be an interesting one to see then. Four-seam fastball at 95, 96, a curveball, a slider, a changeup. He's been injured with the left elbow issue since his first start, so hopefully the Royals can give him a rude welcoming back to Major League Baseball. We'll see. In Game 3, it's going to be the starter, Daniel Lynch, against we do not know yet for the Dodgers, who will be starting that game. So we're not sure, but we'll see if Daniel Lynch can go a little deeper into the game and do a little bit better this time. We'll see.
We, in fact, will. After that, they'll take a day off, maybe go to Disneyland or something, and then they'll head to, still stay in Los Angeles to face the Angels. They are a 45 and 73 team. That's good for last in the AL West. They're real bad. The offense has a 93 weighted runs created plus, which is good for 25th in Major League Baseball. Mike Trout's still out there doing it like a champ. He's got a 132 weighted runs created plus. A guy named Wade Meckler has a 124 weighted runs created plus, second best on the team for people with over a certain number of plate appearances. And then Nolan Shanuel has a 108, just above average, but he is probably their third best hitter at this point. They traded off a lot of their hitting assets. They traded Joe Adele. They traded... Who else did they trade? At least one other.
They already traded Taylor Ward back.
Yeah, they'd already traded. Yeah, but I'm thinking of one other guy they traded. I can't remember who it is, though. Might have been a pitcher, actually. And so, yeah, offense not great for the Angels now. Hasn't been all year, really. But the pitching has been equally as bad. And so that's good. They have a 4.49 ERA as a team. That's 24th in Major League Baseball. Their best starter at this point is a guy named Walbert Urena. He's got a 2.83 ERA, having a real solid year for them. Reed Detmers has a 4.12, and he might have been the one they traded. I'm not sure. I can't remember. So some of these stats might be useless, but other than that, they don't have a starter with an ERA under 6, I don't think. And so who's had a significant number of starts anyway. And so, yeah, not great for the Angels. So really the Royals are going to face one really, really good team and one really, really bad team. And we'll see how it goes. Mike, what household chores do you refuse to do yourself?
Window cleaning, pressure washing, and most importantly, gutter cleaning.
And why is that?
It's 2026. How are we still climbing ladders to clean gutters? We got AI breaking free of containment and hacking companies, but I still got to risk my life to clear a few leaves?
It's crazy, right? Why would not solve this? If you're wise like Mike, reach out to the professionals at Window Wolf for all your window cleaning, gutter cleaning, and pressure washing needs. Window Wolf is a locally operated small business with all the professional know-how to keep your feet on the ground and your house or business shining bright. I've known the owner of Window Wolf for years, and I can tell you there's no one more reliable for high-quality service. Plus, Window Wolf is revolutionizing home maintenance with their new instant price calculator, which gives you a free quote without a home visit or entering a bunch of your personal information. Window Wolf is making the process easy and the price affordable. And for a limited time only, you can get 50% off when you book using their instant price calculator. Just visit windowwolf.com. That's windowwolf.com and use the code Royals50. That's Royals50, no spaces, when using that instant price calculator and save big bucks on quality service.
And I'm talking quality, not some half-ass job like the kid you pay to cut your grass. You didn't even finish the back, Timmy. All right. And don't pretend like you can't hear me. I know you can.
I know you can hear him. Be smart. Let the pack handle your pains with Window Wolf. We'll end this week's episode like we end every episode with the Just About Outside segment, where we talk about something that's interesting to us outside the world of baseball. We have rich, interesting lives. This is the time when we really get to let loose and party on the episode here. Mike, what was your interesting thing for last week? It looks riveting.
Well, it is, yeah. And let me tell you, some people are going to see this as a waste of time to talk about. But you know what? This is my chance to shine. So
it's my party. I'll cry like I want to, or whatever.
Exactly. All right. I finally found a protein shake that I like. That's a big deal for me.
That's a big deal.
For years, I have been looking for a protein shake. Every time I decide I'm going to start working out again, which, happens on occasion, I think I'm going to get a protein shake, or I decide I'm going to start losing weight. I'm going to get a protein shake to replace some of my meals. And every time I do it, I find one that either tastes like crap or hurts my stomach real bad, because Mark and I are both afflicted with the silent killer of lactose intolerance. Okay.
A little bit. Yours worse than mine.
Bit. I'm a little bit worse than his. And
I just ate some ice cream. I'm fine.
Yeah. Cheese doesn't bother me as much as like ice cream and milk do. But a lot of these things use lactose in their milkshakes or their protein shakes. And I'm like, I can't really have that. I'll do it, but then it makes my stomach hurt. And so I found one though that tastes fantastic and does not make my stomach hurt because it's lactose free. It's by Fairlife. I'm sure there's a bunch of people who have discovered this brand already and they're, whatever. But I probably like it too much. That's the problem now. Okay.
Now he's drinking 6 of them a day before breakfast.
I was drinking one at dinner, like right after, like, cause I ate a really small dinner. I was like, I'll just have a protein shake with it. Drink a protein shake. My wife comes up to me. Is that another protein shake? I'm like, yeah. She goes,
you have a problem.
Did you work out today? No.
Great
How many
question.
Is that? It's just number 2. And so
lies, all lies. He's got a whole stash of them.
The other problem is they're crazy expensive. So like I bought them at Costco. I bought like 18 of them. Or no, I bought 36 of them. I bought 2 packs of 18 and they're $40 a pack. And I've already gone through like probably, this was 2 days ago I bought them. I've gone through probably 10 or somewhere around 10 of them things. They're so good. So I do need to cut back my intake, but if you're looking for a protein shake, I highly recommend just the Fairlife chocolate protein shakes, especially if you're a person who struggles with the old lactose. They are delish and they fill me up. Like I feel pretty full when I drink one. So liking them quite a bit.
Excellent. That's the riveting stuff people tune in.
I'm talking about hard-hitting topics like protein
Mike's protein shake recommendation.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about something that actually matters to the future of America. Okay. So this is last week, but like for a few weeks now, many weeks actually, I've been just really interested in the research emerging about how technology is impacting our young people, especially, but everyone cognitively, right? And they're developing all these terms that sort of describe the ways in which technology is impacting us cognitively. And that's primarily breaks into 2 categories. Like some of it has to do with like just our interaction with screens and how much that, impacts us in terms of our cognitive ability. And then some of it's like AI focused and how much interacting with AI and utilizing AI impacts us cognitively in our cognitive development. And I'm very interested in it because there's this term emerging called things like cognitive offloading and things like that, where you're essentially taking the work of doing cognition, giving it to a technological entity. And as a result, you don't have to do the work. But the problem is like lifting weights or anything like that, in order to get stronger mentally or cognitively, you have to actually do the work. You have to struggle through various things. And it seems like technology has always been there to help remove elements of struggle from us. And we're just now starting to realize, it seems, that actually that struggle is essential to the human experience, right? It's essential to learning. It's essential to growth. It's essential to emotional development too. Like you need to like have some resistance when it comes to finding information, when it comes to making a decision on the quality of that information, when it comes to things like understanding things and developing comprehension. Like you need the struggle of working through text, of working through video, of working through audio, whatever. You need that struggle in order to actually develop the ability to think, right? It's not just like it's not just what to think, like literally going through the process teaches you how to think. And it seems like increasingly we're starting to get worried that we've pushed the responsibility of this off of people to the point where they can no longer do it, right? Like all I'm hearing from people in like secondary education, in sometimes even in like 1st and 2nd year college education, is the students can't think anymore. They can't read a paragraph and understand what that paragraph said. They can't there's all these things they can't do because they've essentially been offloading all their cognitive tasks to a computer, whether that computer has AI or not. They've been offloading the cognitive task to some sort of technological entity. And as a result, they're incapable of thinking, if that makes sense. It's a wild thing to consider. And it's something I've had to confront a little bit more all the time. And I think it will only get worse as I, start taking more and more students who are of the AI age and things like that, that I'm worried that I'm just going to start being like, wow, we have to go back to like real basic things like read this sentence, tell me what it says, tell me what you think it means, and all these sorts of things, like, because they just haven't done that work yet. And I can tell you right now, they don't necessarily resent the work, being asked to do the actual work of doing it, but they're not good at it, and they don't handle that struggle real well when they reach their late teens, early 20s. Give them that struggle earlier. Give it to them when they're 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, because it'll be a lot easier to deal with when they get older. I mean, I've heard so many adults say this, right? When they look to children or teenagers or whatever, they just sort of say, well, buck up. It gets a lot harder. It's going to be, imagine what the cliff will feel like of adulthood when they haven't been asked to do jack shit from the age of, 5 to 21. Adulthood's going to feel real hard if we don't start preparing them.
Agreed. And I see it all the time, honestly. And that's why, as I've talked, this was happening starting last year, but you're now starting to see teachers, especially at my level, I teach at the middle school level, just looking for any way to keep kids from doing that. Like, what can I do? How can I design lessons? How can I design assessments? How can I do these things to create that struggle, to make kids go out and find solutions and problem solve and do all those things on their own without having this crutch that is AI. And, I think it is a huge, huge deal. And the odd thing is, districts have just been like pushing it and want teachers like, oh, you got to have them do this. You got to make them do this. And not only that, they've been taking away the resources that you could use to create those circumstances to help them struggle through something. It used to be when you and I were in high school and things like that, it was like, okay, you're in an English class, you're going to read 2 or 3 books throughout this year. Now it's like, no, we can't afford to give them those books. So instead we're just going to give them this little PDF of like, a short story. And then of course, what do the kids want to do? They want to plug that into something to have them tell them what it was in 3 paragraphs, and it's like, no, like, let's not do that. Let's make it a little more challenging. Let's make it so that it takes that cognitive development and those skills to build on, because they're not building on them right now. That's the problem.
There is a great quote that I sometimes start my syllabi off with from this writer named Elizabeth Bouquet, who wrote a great book on writing center work. But the quote itself is, efficiency is a bad model for the growth and development of the human mind. And that is exactly what we're talking about here. Like, yes, they can efficiently like intake that paragraph if they have an AI chatbot condense it to 3 paragraphs, but then they'll never learn how to do the cognitive processing of understanding what the longer, more nuanced text meant, right? Like, so nuance and all these sorts of, critical thinking and all these really detailed elements of thinking will be gone from our people, from everyone, from humanity, right? Like, and so we really gotta like get rid of this efficiency model. Like, and I understand sometimes it comes from a place of empathy where teachers are like, I just, my students are struggling. I want to make things easier because I care about them. No, actually that makes things worse. You're hurting them by making it easier, right? Like, do not make it easier. Just make it so it's hard, but if they fail, it doesn't kill them. It doesn't like ruin their future to fail. That's what we need to create a system that does, right? Like, create a system where they have to struggle, but failure isn't punished to a large degree. I think that's like all we need to get to when we're good to go. But enough of this cognitive offloading. Let's do the hard work. It's worth it. That's all I have for you this week. That's all we have for you. We'll be back again next week with more Royals Weekly. If you'd like even more, subscribe to the Royals Weekly Substack, royalsweekly.substack.com. Until next week, be good to each other.
And go Royals.